Welcome to Inside Albania with me, Alice Taylor. This week I'm joined in the studio by two friends of mine, activists Jenny Karai and Rezata Chowshai. We are going to be discussing nitty-gritty topics such as the rise of the right in Albanian politics and divisive topics such as gender and sex, surrogacy and women's rights. It's going to be an interesting episode because we all have very different opinions. Rezata, Jenny, welcome to Inside Albania. We are friends outside of the studio, but we do have different views on things. But I've been wanting to tackle for a while the rise of the right. In my perspective, in Albania over the last 7.5 years since I've been here, there's never really been a very vocal far right or extreme right. And the centre right has been often more left in many ways. That's my perspective anyway. But what I've noticed recently is as we've seen Trump in the US and in the European elections, the centre-right and the right got more popularity. In the German elections, the far right have got more popularity. And ahead of the elections here, there seems to be an emergence of this really far-right rhetoric in a number of different areas. And this is what I want to talk about today. Is this something you've noticed as well? Do you see Albanian discourse, political discourse, becoming more far-right than it has been before?
To me, it looks a little artificial. And I can say, for example, from our experience with the Democratic Party, for example, Berisha approved in 2010 a law that is actually usually left-wing parties approve this kind of laws. It was the anti-discrimination law. It was the first law in Albanian history that covers discrimination for different groups, and one of the groups is the LGBTI community. And for the first time in the history of laws in Albania, the concept of gender identity was presented, you know. And now we see a different political party that comes as a more conservative or more far-right than right, saying that if we win the elections or presenting a legal initiative in the parliament that asks for recognition only of two genders, where actually in Albania we only recognize two genders. So I see them more bringing into Albania the discourse of America, importing issues that are not even relevant in the reality of Albania. Like I see in their discourse saying we are going to protect kids from hormone therapy and injection.
This is not even something that's on the table here.
When in Albania we don't have not even grown-ups, like 18 plus members of the trans community can access hormone therapy. They can't. Anything that
surgery or anything?
Nothing at all. No. So I was now actually in France for a work visit, and I was visiting. There is a huge community of trans women that has emigrated there from Albania because they cannot access at all health care in the country. So people like this kind of the politics of these years, the lack of services that even a supposed left party should provide to their citizens have not been there, you know?
So he passed a law in 2010 which says there are only two, and I'm going to use the word sex because we are ultimately referring to sex, male and female here. That only recognizes those, but now he's saying, I want to make it, the law that there's only two sexes here, but that already exists. And he's talking about these...
The law on civil registry knows only two gender. It has always been like that. He's not even bringing something new or conservative as a proposition, you know? It's just something that it's
and
there.
I've never heard of a case in Albania of someone under 18 trying to access sex change drugs or treatment or anything. So this is why I was confused, because when he was talking about this, and then I was trying to look up and see if there was cases of this, and no one's talking about it. It's not something that's a debate yet. It is outside of Albania. In the UK, it's a huge debate.
It could be because the Albanian public, a part of the Albanian public might be unaware of this specifically. But mostly it's because he's trying to ride the wave, the triumph wave of Trump winning.
You think he's trying to copy Trump?
Yes.
No, he needs to. He's instrumentalizing it. He's literally trying to instrumentalize it. He's paying lobbyists to get to Trump and try to portray himself as leader of the opposition, who is conservative and right-wing, just like Trump, and who was unfairly treated by a left-wing government with the help of Soros, just like Trump. So he's trying to play, also because he's a politician, he's a career politician. He understands that policies that Trump is implemented, they're going to create a mess. And he has this short window of opportunity to take advantage and try to push his narrative and trying to have his designation repealed with the help of this prejudice that the Trump administration has against Soros, and with the same prejudice they're trying to take down SPAC because they are calling it a creation of Soros, which is not.
But this is another thing as well.
He's trying to ride this wave.
This
he's
talk
trying
about
to instrumentalize
Soros.
it.
I'm going to ban Soros. I'm going to kick out all of the... I've read a lot about this Soros thing, and it appears to me, while I do think he appears to have a lot of control and influence, a lot of the hatred against him is rooted in anti-Semitism. This idea that Jews control the world and Jewish people are super rich and they blah, 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 blah.
And it was Putin the first that started this, actually. You see all these authoritarian regimes that don't want civil society to act in their society, want to shrink the power of civil society. They create this enemy, like the Western enemy, the Western values enemy, and then they need a scapegoat. They always need a scapegoat. Firstly, it was Soros. Now it was the trans community, because they decided in America to attack the most vulnerable part. Their campaign didn't target it in the beginning the LBG community. It targeted the trans community, which is less than 1% of the population in America. And it's not the 1% that has created economical crisis, environmental crisis, etc. It's the 1% that has created this huge economical gap is the oligarchs, it's the tech people.
Musk.
I have a different view of this. We need to recognize that Soros has also weaponized civil society to gain political power, to engage in regime change. This is true. And in a certain way, he actually, he betted and he lost in a way, because he also was directly engaged against Trump. What did you expect? If you engage in political games, that is the response.
No,
what is the risk here that this is going to become a witch hunt? So everyone that opposes you now is a Sorosist
and a Soros coming to counter Soros, is there? What? In a democracy, you can have. I'm sure someone is welcome to come and support.
Here's the thing: sometimes when they say civil society, civil society people should remember. I am a member, you are a member, we are not elected. We don't represent anyone. And in certain countries, they made it look like civil society represent people and not the people that are elected. And that's not okay. And Soros did this.
But there's no one stopping anyone
from I am against witch hunt, and I'm against everyone that opposes you be labeled as a person who is pro-Soros.
It's not Soros's fault that SPAC went after Berisha,
No,
he's
I agree.
He's attacking SPAC because SPAC when
I agree, he's weaponizing
he deserved it. Because politically he's corrupted, and he has been involved in huge corruption schemes and in.
I agree on that. That's why I don't agree when they present this matter like black and white. It's a bit more layered.
Yes,
it's a bit more layered.
If I even mention the word woman or feminist on social media, I get called Soros puppet.
Alice, one of the funniest things is that the LGBT movement in Albania has never taken money from Soros. And I always tell, that we have always been targeted as Soros financed, as bringing the agenda of Soros in Albania. Well, actually, if you see, and everyone can go check, everything is transparent, everyone can see that SPAC has never, Soros has never been giving money to the LGBTI movement.
But I can tell you that it's because Soros became became the face of identity politics, not just in Albania, in the US as well. That might be not completely true, I agree.
But this is
and
not
I am
right,
aware
you
of
know?
that.
This
but
is scapegoating, as we were
yeah,
saying.
this can be
I want to
scapegoating.
keep this
I
identity
agree.
politics out of Albania. You know, I have always supported the LGBT.
The reason why Trump here is because there was a lot of focus in identity politics. And they
used it as a
cannot be, you
scapegoat.
mentioned the 1%, and I might agree there, but the 1% cannot run the politics of one
But
country.
who has been running the
Yes,
politics
they did.
of one country?
The whole
you know?
the Democrats, the whole agenda, the whole
No,
policy
the whole,
revolved around
to say
political
that-
correctness,
no.
identity politics. They engage in debate. They
social
engaged in
Are
cancel
divisive.
culture
They deliberately
and
migration, LGBT.
And
they
I'm-
pick topics that are
and
divisive
I'm gonna-
to win votes.
This,
And
but
I'm going to
this
tell
was
you
not
why
the whole
it
program
was
of
drawn
the
a line
Democratic
when
Party,
with
you know?
transgenderism. It was drawn a line with transgenderism. Most people drew a line there because they went too far. For
But
most
what
people,
does it mean,
they went too far because
transgenderism, you know, because the way they
you
represent
basically
it,
take away
it's like-
people's reality, objective reality. Policies become based
but
on
what
non-reality,
policies?
subjectively.
Like to give the right to people.
They
to
have
live
the
with
right.
dignity
They have
doesn't
the right.
mean that you
They
are
have the rights.
imposing.
They have the freedom.
No, they don't have anymore
they
the
have.
right. They
No, they
cannot
do
access
have.
health care. They cannot access education.
That is not a right. That kind of healthcare is not a right. That should be handled privately. They
No,
don't.
no, no, no,
They
no.
don't forbid it for. They forbid it for children, and that's good. But they don't forbid it for the rest. You can
But,
handle that privately.
Rizzi, even
Me
the
as
part-
the public, I
Rizzi,
don't
even
agree
the
with
part-
why
even
should
the
I invest
part-
money in
even-
your private health
Because
care?
this is,
It's
you know,
not the health.
democracy.
No,
This
it's
is
not a
democracy.
question of life and death.
This is
It's a question
democracy
of your
is-
preference, and you are free. You have freedoms. I don't know why people only speak about right. You
But
have
if we talk-
freedoms. Those freedoms are not being taken away.
This is a very capitalist way of thinking that I pay my taxes, then I pay my taxes as a lesbian woman. I don't have kids, but I pay my taxes. With my taxes, the kindergarten for your kids are built as well. So if we work with this logic, each of us should say,
Yes, because
I don't
because
have
the moral,
Let's have-
because
let's
the
have-
moral.
This is the logic.
This is not just
This is
between me and
this
you.
is the
You,
logic.
I
Let's
pay my
finish a
taxes.
second.
I
Let's
pay
just
my
finish.
taxes for
This
your
is-
kid. You pay my
this is-
taxes for my kid.
But-
But in this case,
But
it's
we
not the
cannot-
same.
Zgjedhjet.
Democracy
Let's
doesn't
finish.
work. Democracy doesn't work like that.
No, that's exactly how
And,
democracy works.
uh,
You are speaking
if you
about
talk about-
positive
if you
rights,
talk
which
about-
means you need to build
Rizzi,
consensus
if you
in
talk about
society.
health
Okay.
care for trans people, then you have to understand that there are huge number of LGBTI people in America paying taxes.
That's okay.
So it's not your taxes
Well, they are
paying for
getting the
their
taxes
healthcare.
back. It's not just the healthcare the
But you
taxes
said,
pay.
why should I pay taxes
Because
for
I
don't
others
think-
to access
Because
So
healthcare?
it's
we're-
about
sorry,
things that we
sorry.
have a consensus.
No.
Guys, right.
Everyone
okay.
is paying taxes.
We are
LGBT
talking
people
about
are
a
paying
country-
taxes and they
No,
should
you are
get
not.
back.
You are not
Zgjedhjet,
paying for
Jenny,
my plastic
we are talking about a
surgery.
country-
You're not paying for my
It's
plastic
plastic
surgery.
We are
surgery.
talk-
It's
Guys,
health.
stop.
It's
We are
health.
talking
It's
about a
right
country
for
which has a
healthcare.
deeply flawed health system and an unfair tax system and screwed up
Yeah.
politics, okay? Let's bring things back to Albania, and also let's try and let everyone finish their sentences if
Yeah.
possible. I need like a bell or something, I think, or an electric prodder or something. Let's talk about Albania, because so far this gender issue is being brought into Albania by Berisha in a way which I find is very divisive. For me, I'll give you an example. I wrote a report recently for an organization in America about sex-selective abortion. And I was told in that article I was not allowed to use the word female or sex.
Now?
Yes, for this American organization. And I thought this goes too far, because we are not talking, when we're talking about aborting a child because it's female in utero, it's because it's female. It's nothing to do with its gender identity. But it was, no, you can't use female because this might offend somebody. For me, this goes a bit, it's almost like it's taken too far in some places. And I think this hurts the cause, which is when we're fighting for a basic, okay, under the law, I want to be recognized as trans man or trans woman. You know, this, I think, is something that should be recognized. But when things like this happen, we have politicians like Berisha who pick up on stuff like this and then use it to weaponize against a whole issue and to galvanize voters. I applied for a project online recently with a company in Canada, and there were 3 questions about my experience, 5 questions about my sex and my pronouns and my things like this. And it was not about I think we have to have, in Albania, we have to have the rights for people within this community, whether it's accessing basic healthcare or at least being able to have hormone treatment if you want, you know, being able to access it. But I do worry that it being taken far in other countries is going to give people like Berisha and other right-wing people here, they will just take this and they will use it to galvanize the entire population against this cause. This is what I'm worried about.
But this is a problem, you know.
I think Albania has bigger issues, to be honest. I don't think the Albanian public will decide straight, you know, from this topic.
I agree with. I agree with the
Will you
reason.
weaponize it? Yes.
I agree with the reason at this point. You know, people here are tired from poverty. I tired that they don't have medication for even for cancer. You know, in hospitals. They are worried about their kids being killing each other in schools because of the education system. They don't care about who I sleep with,
this is
and what I do in my personal life. I know, but I think the voters in Albania are more clever, you know.
I hope
if
so.
this kind of debates work for votes in America or whenever else, I don't think this rhetoric is gonna
But I'm worried
work
about the
here.
damage it also does to a community
Yes,
which is
the
already
damage is
struggling.
right, and that's why I've always reacted when I've heard this language being used by politicians in Albania, not only Berisha but others as well, because it incites hate, it polarizes the society as we were discussing before, and this is what scares me more, that the level of polarization in society, creating the idea, dividing families as well, because we hear now in Albania this rhetoric that the LGBTI community is a threat for the family, but I am part of a family, you know, I'm born in a heterosexual, conservative, democratic party as well. My father has been working for the Democratic Party for many years. And by listening to this rhetoric, what is the message our families are getting, you know? It's my mother and my father is getting the message that this political party does not respect the identity or the sexual orientation of their kids. They are weaponizing their kids. They are calling their kids an enemy. It's like reliving the communist times as well, you know, when you would get persecuted and you would get sent in the camps just because you were thinking politically differently from other people, and this kind of division doesn't help any one of us. I always say we are LGBTI people. We are like nieces. We are nephews. We are colleagues. We are sisters, brothers. Who's helping this? We didn't came from alien forces.
No.
We came from the heterosexual, traditional, conservative family. We are a product of this family. We are building our families. People that ask for recognition of their own family and fight to have the recognition of their families cannot be a threat for other families.
Because the recognition of the family, this is something we were discussing beforehand. You know, like, it's not, if you and your partner, you know, if you, God forbid, were to get sick, they could turn you away from the hospital.
Yeah,
like
sure.
Turn her away from the hospital
for
not to visit
decision,
you.
for medical decision.
Yes.
I'm not the person that can sign, for example,
Yes.
if my partner needs an operation
You can't even
or whatever.
sign for a letter from the postman, technically.
Yeah,
on
but
her
you would
behalf.
have to fight for alternative solution as well. Here's the thing. These are
What
these,
does it mean,
no,
alternative
I will
solution?
explain. These are positive rights. That means that the rights that you are asking depend on political will. They depend on you building consensus, what you are fighting for. And that depends somebody embracing politically your cause. But what if they don't? You need to find alternative solutions. But if you beat the same...
What does that mean?
like
What is
what?
alternative?
But you don't, because you just said, and you sometimes fall into the trap of simplifications.
But,
Maybe
we
because
are
they're,
talking for
you know,
people
not
to
everyone
understand
is
us,
out
not-
to get you. The people, most of the people, they are not, Alice, sorry.
No, but
People are
what is
not
that
out to get
No,
this
no,
community.
well, a lot of them are.
No,
you see
if
some
they
of the
get
stuff written
defensive and
online.
they victimize themselves all the time, can we move from this?
But
point?
why
does it
should
mean?
she not have the same legal rights
Yeah.
She
we're talking
has.
about-
She
doesn't.
has freedom.
She doesn't.
What-
If
what-
she is with
what
her
legal
partner,
rights?
Because
I'm
she,
10
wants,
years.
because she
legal
wants
rights.
to legalize same-sex marriage. You can't have it. Can you
Why?
move to,
Why
to
can I
another
not-
solution?
why
Because the
can't you?
majority of people in this country don't agree with you.
Yes.
Then either you
This
have the
is not
solution
right.
shouldn't marry
to
the
But do you
same
think
find...
this is
sex.
right? Do you
Yes,
think this
yes,
is
I
right?
think it's right.
Why?
I
Do you
think it's
think
right.
you are better with your
Because-
husband than me and my partner? And
No,
you
I don't
should have
think I am
access-
better. This is not the concept that I have.
No, but this
But
you,
what
you are
legal solution
insinuating.
do
No,
you have?
marriage is for children.
Yes.
Marriage is not for me.
What-
I married
Tracy,
after I had
why-
my kid.
What
First of
legal
To be honest,
solution? I'm
Tracy,
talking
why
about,
do you
I'm not
think?
talking
Why
about
do you
children.
think I cannot have children? We are two women. We can very good. We can.
Because
have
I
kids.
think a child needs a mother and a father, and the law is a standard. It
So a
doesn't
single
cover
mother,
every.
so a single mother is not
I
a
can
proper
only speak
family.
with one.
So-
Alice.
Okay,
I can
but
only
we
speak
have
with
to-
one.
Now-
Yes,
But
I can only speak
I'm
with
sorry
We
if
have
I
to-
can.
but I've been
You
trying
are a
to
single
ask for-
mother now, and like now.
Because I think
What
a
does
child's
it mean
needs
that-
are not just material. A mother
But who
fulfills
said?
different.
I don't. If I'm gonna have a child, I'm not gonna perceive my child as a material. If you perceive it like that, it's your
What?
problem.
No. I
don't
think you
perceive
misunderstood me.
child as a material. I
I
perceive
think you
child
misunderstood
as a
me. I
product
said
of
a
love,
mother
you know?
fulfills different needs from a father, and this child
But
needs
what-
them both. But that is the
Tracy, what
model
about
society,
childs
the
that
law.
are grown
the
by
law.
their grandparents?
What about this?
What
But
about
for
childs
every
that
example
are-
you can provide, I can come up with a different counter example. I am speaking in principle. The law,
No, you are
the law
saying
approves
that
a standard,
you-
a model, and gives you the freedom to also have a partner,
But
to
this
also
law
live with that
doesn't
partner.
recognize
But it
me
says
as
you
my
cannot,
partner.
you cannot organize your life based on marriage. You need to find something else.
With all due respect,
This is
I
a
didn't
fascist
ask
way of
about
thinking,
having
you
children.
know, that you
I
are
asked-
better than
Sorry,
I'm
you
not
and
better.
your
Can
I
husband
speak?
are
I am not-
better
Can I
than
speak?
a
Can
I'm
I
not
speak?
better.
Can
I
I
am not
speak,
better.
please?
Then why should you have the right to marry and I shouldn't have the right to marry?
Can I speak?
Because you're not a man
Because
and a
I'm
woman.
not talking about children. I'm talking about property rights, access to health
Exactly.
How-
Civil partnership.
But
Yes,
you can
this is
have
what I'm
alternatives.
saying.
We have
This
to
is
You
what
can
talk
have
as well
alternatives,
about
but they
children
never
because
have
there
them.
are
but
lesbian
we
couples
can
that
get to
have
that.
children,
But
you
why-
know?
absolutely,
You
we
know
can
very
get to
well,
that.
you know,
But
Ada
why
and
can we
Alba.
not have as a first step a civil partnership which affords at the
Yeah.
basic levels, which is a right.
I
things
agree.
like property, things like healthcare.
Yes, yes.
What happens when the person
And
dies?
actually,
God
that's
forbid.
what we are
These
asking in
things-
Albania
Yes.
now. We are
Allow me one
asking
thing.
for
You can
same-sex
authorize
partnership
another
law.
person legally to actually represent you. The
But
law
why can
gives
they
you
not have a
that
civil
right.
partnership?
But you already see.
Why
We
not?
can. Maybe we can.
Albania's a
No, you
minority.
can't. In
But to
Albania,
say that
you
you
can.
cannot, that is simply a lie. You can. You go to the notary.
No,
they
you
sign
I'm
can't.
sorry, if I have a heart attack and I'm lying in a coma, I'm
Receive
not going to be
is-
signing any
if
notarial
it was
documents,
that
am
easy,
I?
we would have done it, but you can't. We have two friends, Ada and Alba, you know them. I think you have interviewed them
Yes.
as well. And they have two kids. The kids are 4 years old. Only the biological mother has rights on the kids. So if something happens to the biological mother, the other mother that has been raising, sacrificing for these kids is not recognized. So the kids firstly go to an orphanage, then go to the mother that has been raising them, or to a cousin that is a relative that doesn't even talk to them.
They have to
then
go to an
To
orphanage?
the mother. Yes, the state is going to take them because the other mother is not recognized at all legally. So what we are asking in Albania, because we know that marriage is perceived as a traditional institution, it's okay for us, for heterosexual people, to have it as they are, you know, preserving it in a maniac way. So we have decided to ask for same-sex partnership law. It's not only for LGBTI people, because there are many straight couples that don't want
Yeah,
to be
who don't want to
involved
get married,
in the
yes.
don't want to get married, but want to cohabitate with each other and want to be to have the rights
have certain rights laid
protected
down.
with
Yes.
the law.
Yes.
Like many young people now don't want to get married, but they want to be protected.
And
by
there are
law.
many people in Albania
So-
who say they're married and are not actually
Yeah,
married, but they're
yeah.
not protected under the law.
Yeah, because there are many women that are losing the right to property, for
Yeah, yeah.
example, because they are just married in a symbolic,
Yes, this
symbolic
is, I know, I
way.
have a lot of friends even
What
who are
I
not
opposed
married.
is
So,
the idea that you cannot
what-
do something under the law. You can.
You cannot.
Actually, you can.
Cannot.
They can't.
I'm telling you cannot, and you are telling me that I can.
But I
Would
can't.
you
Am I
prefer
making
two
up
children were
that I
put in
don't
an
have
orphanage
rights?
instead of remaining with a mother?
That
who's
doesn't. Alice does
taking
never
care of them?
happens.
No, that
If the
happens.
child in Albania
It
has
hasn't happened
relatives,
yet.
it doesn't happen. It doesn't
But
happen.
the
It
way you
doesn't
talk
happen.
is very patronizing, Rizzi. You don't have no idea what the challenges of the community are, and you take the stand now and you say, I know this is what happens. I'm part of the community.
I know the rights
I
of
know
every
the
citizen.
challenges.
You have the
You
protection
know.
that every
You
citizen
don't
have.
know. You
And
don't
I
know.
can leave property
I'm
to
telling
anyone I
you
want.
that there are two
Under the
mothers
law.
that
But
are
you have to
living
make a will.
every day
I have
with
to
the
make a will.
fear
What's wrong
what's
with
going to
that?
happen to their kids
But what's
if
wrong
one
with that?
of them
I have
goes
to
down.
change the entire law because you don't want to make a will?
Not everyone has the.
What?
The
No, I
knowledge,
have to make
the-
an entire
cannot
law.
even make
You
it.
don't have some rights, but you have freedoms and you have access to other rights.
I
That's
just
what.
think everyone should have equal
Look,
rights.
I'm just
Do you
saying
know-
you don't have to be this radical.
Can you please cite me and tell me what the Declaration of Human Rights says? The Declaration of Human Rights. What's the first sentence of the Declaration of Human
What
Rights?
is the point?
That every citizen, every individual is born equal in rights and dignity.
Yes, this
The-
is not. It is a
Yes.
positive right. There are differences between the rights.
No, what? There is only one right. It's universal right to be equal.
What?
And some of us are
No.
not equal.
If you
in front
say
of
you're
the law.
equal, then we don't need political parties. We don't need political representation. That is very, very idealistical. But it's not. It's not reality. It's no reality.
No,
Actually,
but
there is a
laws-
hierarchy between
laws
rights, and we
are
fight
there
for
to
those
ensure
politically.
you-
We fight every day through political parties, civil society. Political representations. If that would be so easy, we'd be all so happy. But it's not reality. So you simplify it. The way you simplify it is.
But it's
mind-boggling.
very
That's
simple.
off
It
air.
is very
Mind-boggling.
simple.
You
You
need-
just have to
you
respect.
need to listen to
You
the
just
other people
have to
because
be
they will
a
listen to
decent
you more if
human
you do.
being And
That's my.
respect
But
the
we
other
did-
people for what
I
they
just
are.
want to say, do you agree with some form of legal agreement that same-sex couples can have to afford?
I would be open to it. Yes,
Okay.
I would because
That's-
I
I
live
think
in a
that is-
But
society.
that's what we are talking
That's
about.
what she's
Not.
asking.
I said.
That's what I'm
But you need to
asking.
build consensus for it. You just can't just ask for things.
Did you ask anyone when you wanted to get married? Did you ask me? Did you ask me when you wanted to get married? Did you ask permission or consensus from me?
You can get married. I didn't.
why
I
should
did
I
not
ask-
get married.
Why should
got
I ask
in my head.
from you and your husband of what do I want to do with my wife?
No, you should ask
Or my
society,
partner.
not me, because we are organized formal living,
Society
and we have to
is
agree on
composed
certain
by people.
things.
Did we
you
ask
ask
society,
society when you
we
get
made it
married?
illegal to kill someone? Did we ask society when we made it illegal to steal? No, these were just laws because that's what we elect lawmakers
Yeah,
for.
because there's
to
a
take
rationale.
decisions
There
for
is
us.
there is a
Based
reason
on-
behind all of that.
based
and
on
I say
the
the reason
Constitution,
behind having a marriage is a
Directive of
child
Human
is
Rights.
not.
No.
Allow
no.
me to.
It's not a child. It's
allow
from
me to
you.
give
You
you
can
another
talk about
approach.
yourself,
When I
Lizzie.
go to
You
get
can
married,
talk
does
about
anyone
yourself.
asks me? Does anyone know if I love this man? I might
No,
just marry
but
you
you
for
have to put a
interest.
notice
I
up.
might introduce someone else
It's your
Actually-
after
personal
the marriage.
business.
No love.
You have to put a
the
sign
law
up at the
does not
Bashkia.
care. The law cares what? That I am a man and a woman, and that creates the possibility for
Sorry,
us to
you
procreate.
you actually had to put a notice up at the Bashkia, which would remain in public for a week or two, because you have to give opportunity to people to voice opposition to you getting married.
to the will, not the feelings, not the love, just the will that these two parties are willing. That, and you are a man and a woman, which means society can procreate, and we care about the child.
But
You are
LGBTI
two
people can
adult people. We
procreate.
don't care
I
about
Are
just
you
you.
saying
told
people
you.
who don't want to have kids shouldn't be allowed to get married?
No.
Okay,
It's
so-
a chance. It's a standard. It's the possibility.
They're
The law does not forbid you to take a lover. The law simply has a standard. This is the best thing you can have.
but the law
if you
doesn't
want
tell
in
you
your
get
personal
married
life
to
to act
procreate,
differently,
Rizzi.
you
Yeah.
can. The
You
law
don't-
does not forbid you just
the
because
law
it's a
doesn't
marriage.
tell you get married to procreate and not
Yeah.
and by having
Absolutely,
this
to
argument
protect the
by,
child,
by
that's all that
having
it
this
exists for.
argument you are actually making a damage to women that cannot procreate.
no,
you are telling them you are telling them there is no value in your marriage
No,
because you
absolutely
cannot
not.
procreate.
Absolutely not.
The
But
two
that's
should be
Privately,
separate.
you can. The
the
society
way-
is
but
interesting in its own
that's how you are
continuation.
articulating
No,
it.
I'm not. No, I am not.
Marriage-
You are telling
marriage-
that
No, I
marriage
am
has
not.
a sense
Marriage
only
is
if
protected
people
because
procreate.
society protects its continuation. If in your private life you want to decide otherwise, you have the freedom, and the law
that's what
recognizes
I'm
that freedom.
asking for the
How-
law to
if the
protect
law,
me
if the
as
law
well.
gives you the freedom to
I'm
not have a
asking
child,
for the
how am
law
I
to
attacking you? I
protect
agree with
me.
the law.
Because laws
I agree.
are
I don't agree
universal.
that the law
Laws
should-
are not
should
selective.
impose a
Laws
child
cannot
on you.
protect you, but
They protect you.
are
They
done to
give you
protect
freedom
you
to
and
live
to
your life
protect
as you
me.
want. They
In
protect
equal-
you.
in
They
equal-
protect you.
in equal
When I
form.
want to have a child, I want that child to be protected.
We are never going to agree on
Yeah,
the
and
child.
we are not
part of
gonna
it.
agree on this.
However,
Let's move
we
on.
agree, and you have said that you are open to the idea
Yeah, I
of
am, because
some
I live in
agreement
society.
that provides legal rights. Because I am married, okay? I am married. Didn't get married in a church. Didn't have a big party. Not interested in all that. It lays down certain rules when it comes to children, property, rights.
Yeah.
If something happens,
Yeah.
there are legal responsibilities on me now, on him now. If we split up, things are
Yeah.
predetermined,
Yeah.
predefined.
Yeah.
What happens to property? What happens to the car?
Yeah,
What
they are
happens to the
predefined,
surname?
yeah.
I believe that this, as a legal transaction, if you will, is something which should be allowed to anyone. If you live together for 30 years, you buy a house, let's say your partner buys the house, but you spend 50,000 euros on doing it up.
Yeah.
You need something for when you split up. Okay, I want what I've invested in the
Yeah,
house, for
yeah.
example. These are things which I think
That's
need
what
to
we
be
are requesting.
at the basic level. Children, this is a whole different, and
Yeah.
I agree with you here. I don't think Albanian society is quite ready for this discussion yet, but we are talking at the fundamental level about a basic contract,
Yeah.
just to at least put people on an equal legal footing. You're not going to stop people from living together
Yeah,
and
nobody's
from
trying
getting
to stop
married
people
in
from-
front of Ariane Valia
and
or
you
whatever.
cannot stop
But
people even from having kids.
You can't.
Because
you
there
can't.
are many
No, but at
LGBTI
least-
people
let's-
now that are
let's-
having
The
kids.
law does not
Let's
stop
protect.
you, so why do you feel oppressed?
Because
this
you
point?
need to
The law
protect
doesn't
your
stop.
kids for all the reasons that Ali
No, society
talked
needs to
about.
protecting its kids because it has a long experience with kids.
What do you
longer
have to
than
protect
you.
your kids from me?
And
Are
society
you
knows
protecting
better,
your kids
even
from
better
me
than you,
with
that
the
what
law?
the kids
Let's
need.
not forget that society also knows very well that in heterosexual families there is rampant violence, abuse,
No, that is an
negligence,
extreme.
all
That
sorts
is
of
an
things.
No, that
It's
is
not
the
just a
everyday
reality.
reality.
You are putting-
70%
you are
of
putting-
Albanian children say they've been verbally or physically
No.
abused by
It's
their
the same-
parents.
It's the
I
same
mean,
in the
let's
LGBT
not pretend
community.
that
We
the
have
family
studies
is
about
yes,
that
sacred.
because
Yes, you have
studies
studied.
show-
Some of them are very
Studies
biased, by the way,
studies
and
say
I have
the
seen
different.
them.
Studies say the different thing, but let's
Anyway,
talk about
this is a
Albania.
different-
No,
Let's
this
but,
is a
talk
but
about
putting
the
against
problem.
a family,
Let's-
heterosexual family that abuses their children with another wonderful family, what that is.
We
No,
are not
I'm
saying
saying that
that
the
is a flawed
family is
argument.
not as wonderful and as perfect and as, full of butterflies
But
as
why is
everybody
that
says.
an argument?
It's not. Why don't
It's
we
because
focus?
it's not
why don't
wonderful
we
that we are
focus-
trying to protect
Why don't we
them.
Let's
focus
focus
on the
on the
people
problem.
We are
rather than
trying
the
to
actual...
protect the child exactly because of this. We can't protect
Well, let's
effectively
put
the
more
child.
energy into protecting all children, regardless of who their parents are.
We are.
We're not.
We are. We
We're
are
not.
protecting
Look at
their
the mess
psychological
society is
well-being
in.
because not only
Look
their
at the
physical
mess.
well-being
Look at the
is
mess this
important.
generation is
Yeah.
in. Look at the mess this current generation is in. We've been talking to this.
Exactly,
They're
and
stabbing,
we've been
stabbing
wonderful
each other
to
in
them,
schools.
and we've been wonderful
glued to
to them.
mobile phones
Yeah.
all the time.
And-
3-year-olds
and we've
abusing
been
each
wonderful
other.
to them, overly wonderful to them.
And
and this is the and this
we
is
need
the
to
product.
focus on kids in general and better
Yeah.
families.
I agree, but
If
they are not
There's an
exclusionary.
orphanage near my house, and I hear
Yeah.
parents in my daughter's kindergarten saying, "I'm not going to send my kids to that school because that's where the kids from the orphanage go."
Yeah.
I
It's
agree,
it's
but-
horrific.
Yeah.
What the hell is
Yeah.
wrong
These
with
are
these
not
people?
exclusionary. If we get this, then we don't get this. We can fight.
But
that's what
I'm
we
saying
are
is there's
talking
no
about.
such thing as this perfect idea of family because even
no,
the nuclear family
it's
is
not
flawed.
perfect. I agree, but
It's
there
screwed
is
up.
there is
It's
an
broken.
optimal. The society has an optimal idea of what is good for the child, and it's telling you
What's good for
no,
the
no,
family
no.
is love,
Society simply
respect, and
tells
stability.
you it does not impose on you not to have children. It says that I don't recognize this because in my view.
But this is discriminatory
can I-
not
but
to
can I-
recognize.
but can
Not
I
to
finish a
recognize
second
the
and
right
then-
of people is
But can I
discriminatory.
finish?
That's
It's not discriminatory.
Yes.
It allows you to do it.
No,
No,
because it doesn't
allows you
protect
to have
me.
a child. You biologically
It
can
doesn't
have a
protect
child.
my child.
It
raising
does.
I don't
It
need
does.
your
It
permission to
protects
do
its
a
life.
child. I
It
need my
takes
child to
him-
be protected by the state.
It
I
is
need my
protected.
child if
Every
something
child is
happens to
protected.
me for my partner
Single
to
mother
have
have
rights.
rights special rights. It is protected. His life is protected. He's provided
But
for
the
like all
other
children.
mother don't
He
have
is
any right.
Yeah,
If it
that
is
the
the
mother
mother-
doesn't have, not the child. That's an adult who has made choices,
But
not
the
the child. You are
family is
weaponizing
composed-
the child. No, the child
This
has
is
rights.
the most stupid
has
thing
rights.
I've heard in my life. To tell that,
No,
you know,
maybe
a
the other
mother,
adult does
to
not have
tell
rights,
that
but
the
he
mother
doesn't
shouldn't
have
have
rights
the right
on
on
his
his
child.
child is like, if you tell that a mother should not have the rights on a child because the child has the right, is an ignorance from a legal
Because
point of view.
law
It's
is-
a huge
law
ignorance
is
from a point of
limited
view.
to
And I
reality.
cannot discuss anymore.
Which
if
means
you have
biological
such a huge
reality,
Okay.
which
gap
means
of
the law
knowledge
relies
regarding
a lot
the law.
on
We are not
family
going to agree.
relations.
We've agreed on one thing, that there are certain legal rights which same-sex couples deserve. We're not going to agree on the family thing, and shouting at each other is not going to
But I
resolve it
don't
either.
have to agree because I don't care what Rezi says.
Can
I
we-
don't
want
have to agree either. I have the same
I
rights.
just want
And I have the
from the
consensus
state,
on this.
a state I live, political
Protection.
parties I vote for, to guarantee me the same rights with others.
Political
Rezi
parties are
and the rest
people.
of
I think it can
society
also apply to
Political
the
parties are
situation.
people.
whatever they want.
Families
I don't care.
include parents which are non-biological as well. Maybe the original father's done one, or he's left the country, or he's died, and there's another father who's raised that kid
You
like
have that
his
right to
own.
consider family whoever you want. Nobody's
Exactly,
taking that
and
right
they deserve
away.
protection as well. It's not just about same-sex.
You have
it's
the protection.
About,
You have
there
protection.
Isn't, there
There
isn't.
is.
Can
No,
we move
there
on
isn't
to something
specific
else?
protection.
Can we move on to something else? Okay. Everyone okay?
I'm just going to say I was open to civil partnership because I recognize that I live with other people
Thank
that don't
you.
think like me.
Do you want
Which
me to
means
thank
if you build consensus that law passes, I'm not going to attack you, but I am going to fight for my ideas.
But
you have the
fight
same
for
right,
your
but you
ideas.
say I don't have to listen to
Fine.
you, but you better listen to the other people because you live with other people.
No, but I don't have to
But
ask
the other people
permission
should
to you
also
to
listen
leave.
to her.
Yeah, I do listen
Yeah.
to her,
Not
and
you,
I
I mean
recognize.
other.
I
you know.
recognize that she has a right to live her
Guys,
life as she wants.
we are
she
all
cannot
voting.
impose her
But
standards.
you are
to
saying
all
not
We-
my rights.
we
You
are
don't
all-
have to have my rights, and this is very fascist.
We are
you
all
know, to say
voting.
that
We
I
are
should
all
have
voting.
rights, but you should not have rights because
No,
you
you
are
have
not
rights.
like me.
You
Like,
have rights.
You
Okay,
cannot
I'm going to change the
reproduce.
subject and keep talking. If anyone wants to join in, you're more than welcome. We're all voting on the 11th of May.
Yeah.
I think it's quite clear we don't see ourselves represented in the two main parties.
Yeah.
What about these smaller parties? I'm disappointed to see them adopting a lot of these right-wing rhetorics, making homophobic comments as well in the media, some of these smaller parties. I'm not happy with this. I don't think this is inspiring to youth. Do you see yourself represented in any of these smaller parties?
Actually, I'm very disappointed as well from the rhetoric and the language used, especially from Adriatic Lapai. He made a statement against the community saying that everyone that threatens the traditional family we should be disgusted by it. It's a very, very tough word.
Do you think he
very-
believes this, or he's saying it because it's
I
what
don't
he thinks?
care if he believes this. The fact that a young politician has that kind of statement without having power, it shows his authoritarian and his will to not respect an important part of the society, that is LGBTI people and our families, our father, mothers, and our extended families. It's very disrespectful. It's very discriminatory to use this language. It gives a very negative message to the rest of society because it calls them to be discussed by LGBTI people and to see us as something disgraceful and as a threat to the nation. I think this is unacceptable because I really thought that these new politicians had a new vision for Albania, were fighting for a just society. And when you fight for social justice, and this is for you as well, because you say that you fight for
No,
social justice.
No, I don't fight for social justice.
You fight
Social
for
social
you fight
justice
for
is
a
something
just,
else.
You fight for a just society, for an equal society. If you fight for justice, you fight for justice for all. You don't fight for a selective justice.
No, people
You
fight
know,
for
human
their own
rights
Do you
there
think
is
he
not.
believes what he said, or he's piggybacking on this right-wing?
He's piggybacking. First of all, I don't like people offending other. We can have fundamental differences, and I will still respect you. I have gay friends. One of the best journalists He was a colleague. He's gay. I adore him. You know,
But do
reverently.
you tell him that you
You
you are not
trust.
as
Yes,
me,
I was thinking,
and
who is
you
that
are not
now?
equal as me, and you cannot
No,
reproduce.
that's not
so
how
your
I think.
value in
That's
society
not how I
is
think.
lower.
What I mean to say
lower
is that
than
I
my
still
value?
think that we have to keep the debate civil.
Sure.
I have nothing.
Sure.
I don't think it's disgusting or anything. I just think this thing is kept on the private area and this is the public area. This is my perception.
asking for
I don't
rights
think, and I don't
doesn't
support
mean-
anyone who has strong language and who makes such a statement.
No,
I
how
will.
is
I have
anyone-
never made
it
them, and I
has
will
no
never
place
make
in
them.
real politics. You
It
can't-
has no place. These are people.
Even in everyday life, this kind of language.
But this is
And
the
in
problem.
everyday
If you
life
see
as
young
well.
politicians speaking like this, it normalizes it, and they end up
Yeah.
talking like this
Yeah.
in day-to-day life as well.
And it's more than like, because we're speaking about young new political parties, even though some of them are not exactly new, but new political parties. I'm also a bit disappointed with this this attempt to be a bit populist and you know, engage in demagogy and saying nothing of substance, really. But I still think some of them, because they are so much in disadvantage, you know,
The
electoral
system works
code
against
really
them. It's designed to. But do
is
you?
designed to.
Who would you vote for? I'm not asking you. Do you know who you'd vote for? I'm not asking you who.
You know,
but
I've always been supportive of Levizia Bashk. I've always been part of their protest because I think that many of their initiatives, fights for social justice have been rights like the miners' rights, the students' rights, now the rights of...
we've been in many of the same protests together as
the
well, so
rights
we
for
might be.
the rights for the pensions to be raised as well. I really believe, and they have been consistent in their fight. Like they have shown that they really care about these issues, and I kind of trust, and I would like to see them in the parliament. I've also been supportive of Nisma Thuria. I've had a very good relationship with Andri for many years. I was disappointed by the way he disinformed in one of, I don't know if you have heard, when it was being discussed in the municipal council on the points you could get if you belong to a group that is less favorable. And his claim was that if someone says that he or she is gay or trans, etc., they should not get more points, while actually it was not that every LGBTI person was going to get points. It was only LGBTI person that prove that they have been victim of discrimination, or they cannot access housing because they've been thrown out of their house from their parents.
Cases
The law is very specific. It's like with women that are victims of domestic violence or
You
women
don't get
that are
points just
victims.
for being a woman.
Not all women access these programs. So I even told him personally that I was disappointed by the fact that he decided to use the LGBTI community for political leverage. He said he didn't, but we are in a moment now that I don't trust anyone to be sincere. And I don't know, like at this moment, if you ask me, I would give my support to Levizia Bashk, and that's what...
Again, you don't have to name who you prefer,
okay.
but you know.
I think Levizia Bashk, they are doing something that it's they are ahead of everyone else. One, they're consistent. They are very close to people. They don't really run after, you know, to get bigger and to negotiate, to compromise their own principles. I like that. They move slowly but surely. And I might not, you know, I have a lot of friends there, and I respect them for the idea because they need to be consistent with themselves, not me. You know, if they were a little bit more right wing, I would be all over them. But I say they are ahead of everyone else.
Do you trust them?
The other, I trust them. That's where my respect stems from. They are honest people, and I'm not afraid to say this, even for people
And hardworking.
and hard work. Yeah, all of that, because to have no resources and to be a small party here, it really takes a lot of like character and honesty, integrity, and resistance, and they have it. And I think they would be a good catalyst for the political developments in Albania. The other parties, some of them, Levizia Thuria, for example, it's not exactly a new party, but they've persisted. They are not doing these big meetings with flashy lights and
Fancy
everything.
posters.
Yeah,
And with an eagle in
whose
the background.
financing looks really fishy, but they're still persisting, and I think that's to be sure that's a positive thing. But I don't like that small parties, they try to project themselves like they've been here all along, and I don't know, you are a small party, you need to go and meet people. That's where your power stems from, and you need to listen to them, because Albanians, they got used to people going to them and holding speeches and them just standing there doing nothing. But at least you need to be able to recognize problems. People are not going to give solutions. You are the one to present solutions. But problems, you can find problems within people. And also, just one last thing, and I think this is a problem for all of them. They should talk more about solution and less criticizing. Civil society can criticize. I am in a very privileged position. I can criticize all day,
Yeah, I don't want to hear
But they need to
criticism,
take responsibility, and that's the difference between being civil society and being the politics, because some of them, have made the leap from one to the other.
It's 2025 and there's no woman leading a political party. Like, this is crazy. Why? Jenny?
I think because we still have the same ones that we had in the 90s, This is the first question we should ask ourselves, why we have the same man. And then, because I think, if you want to have a career in politics, we mostly see men that are supported by businessmen, or we see men that enter politics because they have money, sometimes not clean money. We have seen in many cases.
SPAC has been very busy.
Yeah. That many people who are into politics have been involved in many dirty businesses. And the women that I see that have entered politics, as I perceive it, mostly is women that come from civil society, and the politicians recruit them to use their leverage, their social and political leverage. And but I think that as long as we have this model of political parties with one leadership, where the voice
cult
of
personality.
The cult of personality, it's going to be difficult to have women voices heard, but even men voices heard in political parties.
Would you like to see a woman leader, or does it matter whether they're male or female? Like, what's your...
Definitely. I mean, I think it would be a positive thing to have. Why not? And of
Come on,
course, I
Rosata.
think
Next general elections,
No, because I think
Jenny?
when it comes to politics, you have to choose a principle, and I definitely choose the representative principle, which means who is better fitted to represent us. Don't we have good, competent women? Of course we do, but they lack financial backing. They obviously, the mentality plays a big part of it. We still see politics as the domain of men. That has to change, but and it has kind of changed.
It's really an aggressive place to be in.
There are
but other
women
than that,
can
we have
handle
to,
the
in terms of
aggressivity,
numbers, we have more women in key position. Is there? Do they really have a voice in decision making? That is a big debate, I think, because
I think the debate is that neither men have a voice.
Exactly. That's why I said that's a bigger debate.
As long as we have political parties with the cult of the individual,
I think it
leader,
starts within the political parties. If we need to empower women within political parties, when we do that, we can have the other step: have a woman form a political party. So, we have.
But I feel it would make a huge huge change.
I think I'd probably vote for a woman-led party, regardless of what her
Maybe not a woman.
stances were.
I wouldn't vote for
I
a woman
wouldn't
like
for-
Meloni or the.
No, okay, yeah,
No,
yeah,
you
yeah.
would not vote for
Not
anyone.
not
Come on.
always, but there are better chances that
Yeah.
sometimes women are more oriented towards policies that focus on
Less aggressive.
on less aggressive, but in policies that focuses on improving like the life of peoples, of families, etc.
It would be something that additional factor
Well,
that you
we've
might
got 4
consider. yeah.
years to work on it.
Yeah.
Okay, now my last question as well, is to do with SPAC. SPAC has been very busy. Everyone's been investigated, arrested, imprisoned. We have half of the opposition in prison. We have Arian Valio in prison as well. This has reduced the options. And okay, this is good in a way, because if you're corrupt, you don't deserve to have a place in politics. But I feel we're in this situation where young people's options are limited anyway. They don't necessarily want to vote for the same old faces that have been around since the 90s. And then another quarter of the options are under investigation or in prison. It reduces the pool of available candidates even more. But I also want to ask as well, do you think SPAC is doing its job, or is this all a bit of a performance or something? And what impact do you think it's having on people before the elections? Do you think it's going to encourage people to vote or turn them away from voting?
I'm going to talk about how I'm perceiving it. I'm not an expert in
No.
those issues.
I want
but-
to know, because
yeah.
you're a voter.
But I don't think it reduces the chances to vote, because from my experience, people in Albania vote for parties, not for individuals. So I don't think it creates, in this regard, a problem. But I see it as hopeful to see, that there is an institution that is independent and is trying to make accountable politicians for the first time in Albanian history. It gives me hope, that some justice can be put in place in this country. I hope it's not, as you said, it's not going to get political or it's going to lose the independency. But what worries me mostly these days, especially, is the language that Rama and Berisha are using to delegitimize this institution. And that's a dangerous language, because for the first time we are seeing independent institutions being strengthened enough as to take actions against politicians that have thought that they are untouchable,
Yeah.
And this idea of the politician being untouchable, being like a god, I don't like it, because that creates that creates dictators. That creates authoritarian regimes and politics. So I really hope that they continue to stay independent, they continue to be strong, and they continue to do the work that they are there for.
But does it, like, for me, I'm like, oh God, who am I going to vote for? Because I could vote for this one or that one, but maybe they're going to end up in SPAC. A week later,
Here's the
it
thing.
kind of makes me almost not want to vote.
You can vote strategically. If you can't vote for whoever you want to vote because it's not there, you can vote strategically.
But it makes
you
it
can
makes
vote
me
for the
question
change
everybody.
you want to see.
And I'm almost like, okay, I'm not going to vote for anybody because I don't know who to trust, because God knows what's going to happen.
I actually think that is a positive
I
thing.
worry that will, other people will think the same, and they'll be like, okay, I'm not going to vote either because God knows what's going to happen.
I think that I still think that people vote for
Vote for the
political
political-
party.
Yeah.
So I do
Sometimes
think
people vote because their brother or their mother
It's
vote for
tribal
that.
voting.
It's like a tribal
It works
voting.
in a certain institution.
Yeah, it's
yeah, stuff like that.
So-
Mostly like that.
Do you think
actually.
SPAC is doing what it's supposed to do, or do you think it's been weaponized?
SPAC is doing whatever it's supposed to do, but because it's under pressure, it also follows a bit what the public opinion is being fed to in response to that. But as to what does SPAC plays a role in this election, majorly, because it's the institution with the most trust, and which means the public is going to measure everyone's stance in relation to SPAC. Like, for example, I was completely blown away by Berisha's declaration because it was really bold and
What, that he's going to
stupid.
dismantle it?
He's going to dismantle it. What? That was the
That's
best
very
moment
dangerous.
for Spock, and they are like attacking it. No, nobody. Like, if you are in the opposition, you're not going to go to vote. Maybe you're not going to vote someone else,
Ah,
but
but
you're
Soros
just not going
funded
there.
it.
So I think Spock is doing what it's supposed to do, and Spock doesn't need to have political consideration. Spock has been established as a center of power, as it should have always been the judiciary. And this is what we're seeing. And so we are going to see a clash between, as we are seeing actually. But I hope they continue. You know, they might make mistakes. There might be, like, among the 20 prosecutors, there might be 2 of the opposition, 3 of the government. But I think the fact that the majority of them are still independent. And I think even if you have prosecutor of the opposition, these people hold the power of their own. They have a will now, and they can use it. And the fact that they can use it, despite pressure or despite attempts to influence them, that is the biggest win. And if they continue.
But I imagine Altin Dumani is really stressed at the moment and not getting a huge amount of sleep. I wouldn't want to be him right now. Like, you can't just go for a coffee, can you, and relax.
No, but he's also the most popular man in Albania. That should feel good. I mean, I would feel good.
Thank you very much. This
you.
was
Thank you,
interesting. I think I need a drink after this. Thank you very much.
Thank you as well.
That's all for this week. You can tune in to Inside Albania every Saturday on Euronews Albania at 4 o'clock on our YouTube channel, Euronews Albania, or across all major podcasting platforms. Until next week, Mirapavshin.